Hello, Marvel fans! Welcome. Thank you for joining us on a Friday night here on Marvel's channels. My name is Ryan Penagos, aka Agent M, and that wonderful man you see beside me is Mr. James Monroe Iglehart. James, how you doing?
Man, feeling really, really good, man. Can't wait for this moment.
It's been good. I'm glad we got to do this. So, what
Yeah.
this is the X-Men the animated series official Marvel watch
Yeah.
along.
Yes.
We're very excited. We did episodes 1 and 2 last week, which everybody can watch on Marvel's YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and everywhere. And James, we brought you in for episode 3, which is called, of course, Enter Magneto. And I had to
Thank you very
represent. I
much.
brought out my Magneto was right T-shirt because
Ha!
Magneto was right.
That's very
Uh,
true. Magneto was right.
he's the best. He's amazing. He's one of
Uh,
Marvel's greatest antagonists, sometimes hero, sometimes
yes.
villain, just the
Yes.
ultimate. James, because we are talking about X Men the animated series, the 1992 cartoon. What's your history with the show?
I distinctly remember a friend of mine named Bill Dean. He was a big X-Men fan, and then we both found out that the cartoon was coming on, and we didn't know what to expect because Marvel had put out a cartoon with X-Men before, and it was,
Not
And then
great.
when this
It's
one
not
came,
great. It's okay. You can say that.
okay, okay, it's not great, and it's like Wolverine has a really weird Australian voice, and Hanna Barbera used all of the voice actors literally from Charlotte's Web on the show, and it just sounded weird. And then when this
I
one
didn't
came
know
out, from
that.
the moment, yeah, yeah, if you listen to the voice actors from that original pilot, those are the same voice actors from Charlotte's Web. It's like, Penny's dad is there. It's weird. And then from the moment this show started, the minute this music started, we were like, okay, this is going to be different. And it was, so great. The first two
Yeah.
episodes, I mean, people dying in the first episode. It's like, what the heck is going on? And yes, it was awesome.
I know. It's so good. We're very excited. For
Yes, I
those of
love
you who
it.
joined us last week, we have visual props this time. We've got some fun stuff. So what we're gonna do, just to give you a little heads up, we are going to be playing the episode. James and I are going to be playing it together, and we would love it if everyone else can join us, can play the episode. Get up your Disney Plus, get it ready, get it to the episode. I'll give you a countdown to let you know when we go live, and throughout the episode, we're going to just be having a conversation. We'll throw out some facts, little bits and pieces that we know about the show, that we know about the history. And we want to hear from you guys who are listening, who are watching. You can send in your questions in all the chats. We will be pulling them at the end. I mean, I'm not pulling them. I have people off on the side just
Yeah.
feeding me things. They're just like throwing words at me. There's going to be a countdown clock at the bottom of the video that you're watching to let you know the timestamp of where we are in the episode. So hopefully you can join us and we're like right in sync.
Yes.
James, before we get into the episode, I also want to make sure our fans know, like they're like, I know that guy. Where have I seen him? Where have I heard him? Give us a little bit of that resume.
My name is Jason Monroe Iglehart, and I am a Broadway actor by trade. You may have seen me as the genie in Disney's Aladdin on Broadway, and I won a Tony for that, which I am very, very proud of. And right now, I am currently, well, not right now, but I was before all this started. I was Thomas Jefferson and Marquis de Lafayette in Hamilton on Broadway. Oh, and if you're watching Disney Plus and you like Rapunzel's Tangled Adventures, I am Lance Strongbow in that. So yeah, I've got some history with the Disney folks.
Yeah, and of course, acting and voice acting and all kinds of stuff. So any cool tidbits, as we get into this, that just from your understanding of the business, I would love to hear that stuff. Also, I'm a little bit upset that I don't see your Tony like in front of you. You should have, that should be with, like, you should be like,
I
oh yeah,
can
my
I can
Tony.
I can have someone get it if you need it to be here. Do you need the Tony to be here?
No, I mean, maybe we'll have you on again and you bring the Tony. I just feel like
Okay,
it's,
cool.
if,
Cool.
if I had one of those awards, I mean, my
You know what?
Oscar is right over there.
Well, the funny thing is, because I have it, I don't show it because when I do, folks get all weird, like,
Yeah.
oh, he's showing his Tony. So I try to keep it. I got to try to keep it. Try to stay humble in this business.
Okay, okay.
But
All
those
right,
who know,
and everyone watching now should know. So
yes.
if you're asking, okay, just start the episode. You're watching. You're ready. A reminder: we are not playing the episode for you. You have to be able to watch it with us, but we want this to be
Yes.
a bonus and to really like enhance the experience. With that said, James, are you about ready?
I am ready, sir.
And we don't have our audio on either, so we're just going to be watching with captions on and that kind of stuff. So like I know everybody's like, "Where's the theme song?" In about 10 seconds. Listen to it on your side. Enjoy it. I'm going to do a countdown from three, and then we're going to both press play. You're good?
I'm good. Let's do this.
All right. Three, two, one, play. All right. It's loading up on my Disney Plus. And what I love is this is the first episode of the series that has previously on X-Men
Yes.
when this shows up
Yes.
right at the beginning. So good.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. I mean, you should get to see, Rogue flying away. You get to see Morph still there. So this is awesome.
Oh, Morph. Poor Morph.
That was also a moment, when I was a kid, you're watching and you recognize these characters, and then there's one guy, Morph, you're like, who's that dude? And then when then when it happens, you're like, oh, I know who that guy is. Oh, he's like, we needed a red shirt from Star Trek
Oh,
just to
but
get him.
like that's the thing though. Like everybody got connected to him so quickly because he's friends with
Yeah.
Wolverine, friends with Beast.
Yes.
Everybody's emotionally like devastated by his
Attached.
death, which like that they do such a great job in those first two episodes to make you care about him, a character you've
Yeah.
never met before. It is wonderful storytelling all throughout it. We
It
are
literally is
now
beautiful.
Yeah, we are now in the actual show. Of course, we are watching X-Men the animated series, and you never skip the
Yes.
intro. I would like to be able to just
No.
disable skip intro for this show.
Yeah, this show needs that song. And I mean, it's got to be, it literally before, out of all the cartoons, this one has the best intro because it introduces everybody and shows you what they can do to just a really amazing tune. And
Yeah,
I love Beast. I know how you feel. And your favorite Gambit.
how dare you? How dare you, James? But James, you and I co-host a show called This Week in Marvel with our friend Lorraine Sink,
Yes.
and you
Yes,
you
we
want to
do.
do this to me right now? How
Well,
dare you, sir? I was going to talk
it's
all
just,
about how great Beast is, and a little fun fact about Beast is that they call him Beast. They never call him the Beast, but in the intro
yes,
here,
true.
they have the little the. I found that out from
Yes,
Eric
it's true.
Ewald,
Yeah.
who is the showrunner. He posted about that, and he's doing amazing stuff. He has a great book called Previously on X-Men about the
Oh,
making of the show, which sometimes I'll drop a little bit of info that I've gleaned from that book. It's wonderful, wonderful stuff.
please, your facts are always good. This is always an awesome scene just because like we don't know who's doing everything. And also these two dudes are just like there is no need
Those
for
two dudes
this.
also. I love how on the nose it is that Beast is reading Animal Farm,
Yes,
and
right,
when these two
seriously.
dudes come in, but I love that. Oh, it's just like it's such a fun little thing.
But also what's really funny is if you watch a lot of different cartoons, there's always two guards and always one has a mustache and one doesn't. And it is a wonderful little moment just to nod to animation whenever they do that because you got to be able to differentiate between who the two dudes are.
Oh, that's a good point. I just thought it was because mustaches are great.
Well, they are, of course. You're none better than yours, of course. But it also
Thank
just
you.
a way to give the fans, someone to look at. And also, I love the way they animate Magneto's power. The circles,
Ah,
just oh, they're so
so
good. They're
cool.
so good.
Yeah, the best part, like, I really love this scene because Beast doesn't know what's going on. He's never met
Yeah.
Magneto. He's like, "Wait,
No.
Wolverine, what are you doing?" And then this is my one of my favorite scenes in this episode is this right here with the dude losing his drawers because
Yes. It's
Magneto
so.
takes off his belt. It's hilarious.
It also just shows how not how powerful Magneto is, but how much control. Like you've watched the first two episodes, and everybody has control of their powers, but Magneto's control over his powers it's incredible. I mean,
Yeah,
the tiniest thing to take off somebody's belt like that is brilliant.
yeah. And just like zap, you get your chains are off. Blam.
Yeah,
I took out the bell, the bars. He's so good.
yeah. And what's funny is,
And
most of the time, go ahead.
no, 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 please.
No, when they do voices to choose, I I think you probably know the actor, but to choose this guy to do the voice, usually a villain, they try to come through with some kind of deep, dark, some kind of Darth Vader type of thing at the time. And for them to go straight, just normal guy voice, just so powerful. But
Yeah,
if you were just listening, you would think he was smaller than he was. It was a brilliant move, especially
it
acting
really
wise.
was. The casting process for this in the book again, Eric Lewald sort of goes through the casting and everything. And for the first two episodes, I mentioned this last week, but you weren't on. They did those episodes four times. They recorded them four times to get them right, and they really got the
Wow.
actors in the rhythm to make themselves feel like the characters, and it pays off in spades once you start. By episode three, you're like, yes, these are the definitive voices for these characters.
Well, because they're so in it, and they're playing it like it's a they're I mean it's in its animation, but the way they're playing it is like radio play. They're playing it so you hear everything that's going on. I also
Yeah.
love this moment because it's the moment that Magneto realizes, oh, Professor X, Xavier has these kids, as you like to say, it just is not blindfolded with the way life is, but just totally into his version of how the world should be.
He's an old man who's taking children and he's making them his private army, and then he's naming the army after himself. Come on, Magneto was right. Also, I got another really great gif here from this episode because the comedy I loved so much when we see Magneto with his powers and he pulls the tank apart, and then the guy
Yes,
falls, and then his helmet waits after him.
stays.
Cracked me up every time I
It's just
watched it.
there's certain times where you watch animators and directors and writers where they decide to pay homage to the old cartoons, and it's just that moment, that Looney Tune moment of that bad boy staying up there for a little while is just awesome.
Yeah.
Also, here's the thing: I loved how that is a strong jail because the helicopter hit the wall and there was no hole.
Hey man, you got to do it. Real quick, we just saw Jubilee eating ice cream, which makes me understand that Xavier has an ice cream machine in his house because he is trying to trick children into being part of his army. Fine, we're
Oh
going to
no!
move past that
Come on! Come on!
because
Come on!
we get to see Xavier healing people with his powers in these ways. I really, really dig this whole segment here with
Yeah,
him showing how to use his powers, and then the meeting of what they call him in this show, Magnus and Professor
Magnus.
X.
Yes, at the first time, and I love how they had met, but didn't realize they had powers until this
Yeah.
moment. When they go to save her from the camp,
Yep.
and then I also love the fact that with a cartoon you only have 22 minutes, so the fact that you have to establish this rivalry immediately. So the fact he has to say no, stop. What are you doing, Magnus? I mean, all of a sudden they're on separate sides immediately. You're
Yeah.
like, we know what's going on, and it's a great move. It's quick, but it was a great move.
I wish it was like Step Brothers where they like went back and forth with each other for a while, and then eventually they're like,
Yeah,
"Are we best friends?" And then they just like you see them doing all their mutant stuff together. It would have been pretty great that way.
I love the
Um,
fact that yes, that moment of the switch from the costumes is just brilliant. From the lab coat to the red, it's a great moment. It's just really really good storytelling on the storyboarders part.
yeah, Professor Xavier, very strong eyebrows in here. I mean, like
Very strong.
chiseled
Yes,
features.
it. What's funny is I
He's
don't know, but it's very Yul Brynner-ish from The King and I. And if you fans don't
yes.
know what that is, look up Yul Brynner or The King and I, and you'll see it's very very strong, very strong.
Yeah. So now we get into the court scene, which I
Yeah.
mean, uh, the great thing about this show is it doesn't feel like it doesn't talk down to children. It doesn't
No.
water down things. It is talking about racial prejudice. It is talking about civil liberties. It is talking about things that were relevant the entire history of our country, but feel
Yeah.
just as relevant today for terrible
Well,
reasons. But
I think
yeah,
that's the crazy thing about it. Watching this episode and knowing what's happening right now was a little scary. Was a little scary with all the protesters outside and Beast on the inside, just trying to say, "Look, I'm just trying to show you that we're just like you. We're not trying to start anything." And you look at that and you're going, "Wow, this cartoon was this '90s." And you look outside, you're like, how much has changed?"
yeah.
You
It's
know,
wild. Here we get to see Beast, and one of the fun things is that pretty much every episode Beast is in, he drops a little bit of literary
yeah,
quotage. In here, of course, he's quoting Shakespeare from The Merchant of
right,
Venice, and
yes,
in the book, Eric Lewald says that they like really honed in on a lot of the messages from The Merchant of Venice, the idea of prejudice and acceptance for those who are different being a major theme, because X-Men have many, many themes, but that was one that they
yes.
really, really focused in on the show, which I think to great effect. That's I think one of the reasons why we love it so much, so many years later.
Most of the first season, they really focused in on just the difference, them trying to survive, but also on the other side, which people have made comparisons to, where Professor X is supposed to be like a Martin Luther King, and more Magneto is definitely more of a Malcolm X, where it's like, look, we're not here to be friends with them. This is what we're doing. We're starting something new. And I remember as a kid watching that and hearing that and seeing it and going, no, I can see Magneto's point, but you also don't want to, you don't want to break the law. You don't want to hurt people.
No,
But there's a moment
exactly.
where you go, how far are we going to take this and let people do this to us? So it definitely resonated with me and my friends, especially my friends of color, when we watched the
I
show.
bet. Yeah. Not to interject, I mean, there's levity throughout all this. The scene that we just saw in which poor
Yeah,
Beast gets pummeled with tomatoes, which is such a like an old school thing. Like, who brings rotten
yeah.
fruit and tomatoes into a courthouse?
Wait, but who just decides I'm going to go to any protest, but I'm bringing produce? That's the way I'm bringing my what I like. There's a checklist. Like I got my phone, my keys, my sign. Oh, my produce. Got to have my produce
Yeah.
just in case I want to throw something at somebody.
Yeah, and then of course you have one of my favorite shots in here is just the simple Wolverine popping the claws. He's like, "You're gonna kick my
Oh,
friend down when he's
yes.
in
Oh
chains
my
and he's
gosh.
going to jail." Oh, do not do that. Do not do that.
But also, it also just shows right there that this Cyclops is the leader of the group, but that does not mean Wolverine's listening. Doesn't mean Wolverine's listening at
Yeah,
all.
there is a great Cyclops Wolverine moment that we'll get to at the end of this episode, but like the little touches that we get throughout this one of what Wolverine's feeling, what he's got going on that aren't even said because he's such like the broody loner. That moment
Yeah,
where
yeah,
he's
yeah.
just staring, and he's like, I hope Sabretooth dies.
Oh
It's
my
just like
gosh.
so cool.
Well, the line that I like that's coming up, the one that's coming up soon. I guess I don't want to say too much about it, but it's when Wolverine says, he goes, "I like how we we have to go beat up your guy, but we leave
Yeah.
my guy alone," and that's
Yeah.
really telling. Like
Yeah.
Wolverine's trying to tell him, "Look, this guy, I know this is the last guy you want alone with the children that you put together,
Yep.
but you're gonna let that go. We're gonna go after the other guy."
In the comics in the 90s, there was a period where Sabretooth was like they were trying to like reform him and work with him, and he was held in the mansion. And before he really like was almost stable, there was a point where he could have broken out. And one of my favorite What If comics, and I know a lot of fans out there are excited for the What If television show that will be coming to Disney Plus at
Yes,
some
looking
point.
forward to that.
But there's a
Cannot wait.
there's a What If comic where Sabretooth breaks out and he kills a whole bunch of X-Men. It is dark, it is gnarly,
Oh,
it is
oh,
so good and so upsetting. And it is exactly why Wolverine is like, dudes, just let me get this guy
just
out of here.
right. It also, I mean, there's certain people from that program that that Logan knows, and
Yeah,
although Professor X is brilliant, he doesn't know that he doesn't have. I hate to say it, but it's not like real world perspective. But he's not in the field. His folks are. Wolverine's been in the field for years,
yep,
so he knows this.
yeah,
And he's just like, no, no, we're going to do it this way. And it's like, no. And you even have Jubilee trying to like, oh no, we can't do it. They're like, girl, you're 13. Step back and let the adults talk. No, no, no disrespect. Like, listen, all teenagers have a great perspective. I love it. But this is a moment where this older man goes, I know this guy. Relax. I got this. But
yeah. And
it's
it's
the
like you
pushing the bed. It's the pushing the bed towards the door.
yeah, it's the pushing the bed towards the door scene, which is this one, I believe. He gets so
Yeah.
pissed and he's just like, fine, I'm gonna do it. I don't like it. And then the one before it, which is him and he pops the claws, and as a
Oh
kid, you're
my
like,
gosh.
oh, he's gonna straight up murder him. It's
That's what I
just
thought too.
wild.
Trust me. The first I was like, he is about to stab this dude in the chest.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because when you look at this and then other iterations of Wolverine in the films and things, it's almost like they've taken like little bits and then showed you what would have happened. Like there's a moment in old Logan, the last Logan film, where someone is in a bed and they'll pop the claws and he
Oh,
doesn't just hit the wires, he goes right for the kill, and it's like there you
yeah.
go. Such a
Yep.
crazy scene.
I want to make sure to remind anybody who's just joined us as we've been going through this. There's a clock at the bottom of your screen which tells you at what point we are in this episode, which is episode 3 of season 1 of X-Men the Animated Series. Enter Magneto. You can jump to where we are, follow along. We got about, what is that, 6 minutes left of this episode, and then
Yes.
make sure you throw your questions in the chat. We got people polling those so we can talk about them at the end. We always like that stuff. We answer a bunch of questions, especially if you have any for James, who, if I have some things I want to ask you about, but, we always
Sure.
like to hear from the fans.
Can we
So
just talk?
now
Can
we are
we just talk
in
about?
what?
No, go ahead.
No, I was
No,
going
it's
to
just
say
that.
now we are into the base where Magneto is
Yes.
going, and this is reminiscent of the first X-Men comic. The first time we meet Magneto in the 1960s, they used some similarities here for that. What were you going to say, James?
Just that moment. There's a couple things that got me. When we were kids, we all wanted to be ninjas, and we all wanted to walk up walls with like the claws, and then to watch Wolverine do it so easily, I was like, gosh, it's just so
It's
cool.
great. Yeah. They do that, and then Magneto in the it might be the original story. It's one of his stories. He like takes a submarine of humans and he buries them at sea, and he kills a whole bunch of humans. They did tame him a little bit here, but the point is
Yes.
still so resonant, and it comes across so well in every one of his scenes.
Well, it also shows again how powerful he is, but also how ill-informed Storm, Cyclops, and Wolverine are when they see him. They just assume he's just some. Professor X knows who this guy is and didn't tell them anything. He didn't
Yeah.
warn them
They-
anything. I mean, Wolverine at least tried to say, look, Sabretooth is bad. They didn't warn. So when they go in, like, Wolverine goes full throttle, they they get whooped because they had no.
which I love. Magneto is a class above them, especially at this point, and they're unprepared. Xavier has a whole computer system set up with files and everything. He could have just been like, "Yo, here's the deal, boom." But no,
Yes.
Xavier is Xavier. This is the scene that we're at right now, which I love, showing
Yeah.
Magneto and his
Oh,
powers. If I was Magneto, I would just keep sending them into space. Be like, "Peace, see you
I,
later,
I
kid."
thought that was gonna happen.
Yep.
Or at least if you do, just completely don't let them go. Just slam them down and destroy them.
Oh,
But he
yeah.
was so cool about it. He just
Yeah.
he didn't drop them. They only dropped like maybe 4 feet, really.
Yeah.
You know,
I
he's
mean,
nice,
he's also looking at them. He's like, "You're mutants. I'm gonna give you this like pass right
right?
now.
Right.
It is what it is."
But also just that moment of going, I am going to release nuclear warheads. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do, and then fly
It's
away.
not
I
even
mean,
just
like,
he's taking the nuclear warheads that are humans and he's turning them on against themselves. So
yes,
they put themselves in this position. Before we get any further, one of my favorite bits in this episode is Wolverine just saying, "Screw your computers, screw everything." He's looking for the switch, and he's just like, "I'm just gonna slice and dice things because that's how you fix a computer." It's so good.
well, the great thing is, I watched him laughing. Like he didn't look for the switch. He just started swinging. He
Yep.
didn't look for the off switch. He just started
Yep.
swinging, which is great.
So yeah. There's a really quick shot that just came by. I don't have it on here, but it's the three X-Men in silhouette looking, and then the rocket going up. I think it's such a beautiful, simple shot, and
Yeah,
proof that again this show is just different.
yeah, and they didn't pull any punches. They didn't try to sugarcoat it for kids and go, "Oh, look, everything's going to be okay. We're going to talk out everything we're going to do." No, Storm just goes. Storm just
Yeah,
leaves, and she goes to
and
stop it.
she
And
leaves. And after everything that happened in the first two episodes, us when we were watching this as kids, and anybody who's watching this for the first time is like, "Oh, she could die. She could legitimately die. You don't know what's going to
yes,
happen on this show."
Right. They could end this right now. And if it hadn't been for, Professor X give it. Here's the thing. Again, going back to information, Professor X sends her information about the rocket. He could have sent them information about Magneto.
Look, Professor X could have done a lot of things better. That's kind of his shtick. He could be so much better, but he's kind of a jerk. It's my hot take.
I don't
Remember,
know if
Magneto was right.
I don't know if
Um,
it I don't know if it's a jerk. I just think maybe he was trying to send them out, but also protect them. And that if you're going to send your soldiers out, you can't protect them. It's either or. You either got to let them know
yeah,
everything or don't send them out at all.
fair. Yeah,
You
that
know,
that is like if you are making them fight your war for you, they can't fight properly without information. This is
right?
also one of my favorite bits in the show in this episode, the
Yes,
giant leap
yes.
that that
But
almost
one
the
step.
catch.
Yes, but only took one, two, 1, 2. That's how bad he is. Just one. Ah, bow, bow. That's all.
Oh, so great.
So good. I
Yeah.
love that she's
Uh,
asleep.
and,
I love that
y-
she's asleep.
you know, we talk about a lot of, you and I have talked about Wolverine and Cyclops. We were talking about Wolverine and Cyclops with our friend Xavier Woods recently. That'll
Oh
be an
yes,
episode of Week in Marvel coming up. He's super Cyclops guy.
yeah.
But I
I am
do
not.
like that moment. I know. I like the moment here where we get to see Cyclops and Wolverine be like, all right, let's go home. We're
Yeah,
cool right now. We're working
yeah.
together.
Like we're good right now. Let's just go home.
Yeah.
Oh, that episode because it's their first. It's another defeat. Like you watched all 3 episodes, and they're not winning. Like most time at the end of a cartoon, the superheroes win. There's no
That's a great
winning.
point. Yeah.
Just it's just
They
life. Like they're just dealing with life as it happens, and
Amen.
that's that. For a kid, you're watching it going, well, where's the victory? You're like, well, there's not everybody. Not every time's a victory. Sometimes it's just life.
Yeah. Yeah. The show, this episode, so dang good. So
Oh,
that's
so
the
good.
end of the episode. We do have a
Yes,
couple questions.
sure.
Okay, so first question that came in from one of our viewers is James, would you play the Beast if you were offered a role?
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Beast is one of the coolest characters in the X-Men and just Marvel. Period. I mean, to be so intelligent. There's certain people who are so smart they decide, oh, I can't fight because I know one, how powerful I am, and two, I know that logically doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I would love it. Full blast blue, makeup, fur, everything. I totally would do that any day of the week.
I So I would go a little bit different, and I would cast you as Gambit. What does your Gambit sound like?
What does my gambit sound like, Cher?
Did you
The
call
funny
me
thing about
Shaft?
I sure did, honey. The crazy thing about Gambit is, it would be fun to be Gambit in real life. Just to be able to just light any small object that you want and take the potential energy, turn the kinetic energy, and throw it to someone else. It would be great because if you were good at sleight of hand, no one would know you did it. You could just start all kinds of crap.
Yeah, but then
But
you're also catcalling women and being super creepy and just gross. But hey, this is
oh,
not an
come
anti-Gambit show.
on, this is the
Let's
'90s.
move on. We're gonna move on to the next question, which this one's a fun one. How can Magneto fly? What is your theory on this, James?
Um, it's funny. My wife is a scientist, and I could ask her, and she could probably answer this so much better than I could. But I'm assuming that because he's the master of magnetism, he is able to use the magnetism of the Earth, the way magnets can pull to each other or pull away. I'm assuming he's able to manipulate that to do some sort of like anti gravity thing with his powers. So that's what I'm assuming has a lot to do
Mhm.
with that. At least in my opinion, I may be wrong.
I always think about his ability to manipulate even the tiniest bit of metal. And so
Yeah.
in my mind, his boots are lined with a
Ah,
sheet of metal. And so he can just lift himself wherever he wants to go, and that he
that makes
projects
sense.
himself off the metal all the time.
That's actually a brilliant. That's a brilliant theory. I like that one too.
And I think we
I
have
can see
two
that.
ways, which are both correct. So there you go. Thank you for those questions so far. Final question that we have is why is the relationship between Xavier and Magneto one of the most unique in comedy, most unique in comics and media? And I think it is very, it's fantastic, but to me, it is a very Marvel relationship. It is exactly why we love Marvel comics and Marvel stories because it is layered, because you can look at Magneto, as you said earlier, and be like, but I kind of get where he's coming from and I feel
Totally.
it. And then like that relationship that is built into him and Xavier, it's what we do.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And also, I think one of the great things about the relationship is you can see both sides. You can totally see both sides, and it all depends on what's happening in the world or where you are at in your head of which side you feel at the time. And also, the great thing is sometimes some of the things that Professor X did were for the greater good, but they were terrible decisions. And the same thing with Magneto. Not everything he did was bad. Some of the things he did were correct. Think
Yeah.
people did things to people and he was protecting people, and the X-Men were trying to stop him from protecting people. So it's a very interesting relationship, and the fact that they do respect each other. I don't know if they love each other. I think there was a moment of brotherly love. I think they've gotten to the
There
point where now
definitely
they
was back.
tolerate.
Yeah. There's a tragedy to it all, which
Yeah,
gets to the core.
I,
Oof.
but I think they tolerate each other now because they know that. I always thought that I always thought that one or the other would have to kill the other, but they don't want to get to that point. So
Yeah. It's gotten pretty brutal over time. We're
yeah,
almost about to wrap it up. But James, one of your
go.
projects and one of your many skills, had a show called Freestyle Love Supreme, and
I
you
did.
are a very talented freestyler. Would you please give us a little bit of your freestyle magic? Do you need me to do a beat?
No, but can you give
Great.
me a suggestion or a word or something or to rap about
Sure.
or whatever?
Give me a Magneto. Give me something about Magneto.
I got you. Cool.
Great.
So we are about the end of a show, but right now I'm on to do a freestyle about Magneto. Let me explain. The brother's Jack's next. He's kind of the Marvel's version of Malcolm X. Now I said that before, not Martin Luther King, because you see, when it comes to Magneto, he also had a dream, but he had a dream that all the humans be on their knees because they have to understand that he is the bee's knees, that he is the champ, he is the cool of magnetism, he is the one, and he's always got the business coming through with his brotherhood of darkness. They want to give back, and he always has to harken to the past, looking at his brother and saying, I get you, Xavier, but you understand you are not the savior. No, your X-Men are just little kids. They can't do all the things that I did. So let me break Beast out of the jail for this episode. But you have to know Magneto did become a good guy for a while. He was nice, kind of hugs, gave the smile. But he and Mystique knew what they had to do. They had to establish a whole new crew. Now here we are. And what do? We look to Magneto and say, help us, dude, because he is the one, he is the power, he's the man. Yo, Magneto is the master of this tank.
Yeah, I would clap. My baby's asleep.
That's lovely.
Thank you for that, James.
I do what I can. I try.
Yeah, yeah, you do very well. I want to thank
Thank,
everybody for watching with us. Of course,
thank you.
thanks James for being on. James, where can fans find you on social media?
They can find me on social media on Twitter. You can find me at James M. Iglehart and on Instagram, JM Iglehart. And yeah, you can find me there.
Great. And of course, where you can hear us both on This Week in Marvel, which is Marvel's official weekly podcast about everything happening in the week. We have some fun episodes coming up with some pals of ours and lots of cool things
Yes.
going on. And yeah, that's it. How you ready for you? You know how to do the sign off, right? You ready?
Of course. Let's go.
All right. I'm Ryan,
And I am James,
and this is Marvel.
your universe.
Wave, James, wave, bye.